So, thank you very much for coming here today. I really appreciate it. Merci beaucoup pour avoir venu ici aujourd'hui. C'est un grand plaisir de vous accueillir ici dans le Parc Mayoral. We're here in Memorial Park. It's a beautiful part of Winnipeg, and whether you come here by bike, car, bus, or on foot, you can't help but notice that the roads here are in really terrible shape. Just a glance at the pavement around us, and you can see huge, unfilled cracks and irregular pavement. I'm here today to talk about my plan for closing the gap on Winnipeg's infrastructure budget. It's obvious to every single person here in Winnipeg, and plenty of people who are just driving through our great city, that our roads are in terrible shape and that we're not keeping up with our infrastructure. We need a realistic plan for fixing and building basic infrastructure that goes beyond Band-Aid solutions. That's because temporary measures cost more in the long run. The longer you leave a pothole, the bigger it grows and the more it costs to fix. 20% of Winnipeg's roads are considered in poor shape, and that's 1 in 5. We need to make investments now in prevention, patching, and paving that will lower our infrastructure and maintenance costs in the long run. We know these lousy roads cost City Hall more money to fix. Better roads reduce costs for the city, but lousy roads cost everyone because people end up paying far more in car repairs and car maintenance costs. Last March, a spokesperson for MPI told the Winnipeg Free Press that the damage caused by potholes is obvious: bent rims, blown out tires, broken shocks, and ball joint damage. The average case is $3,000, and there are usually about 1,000 claims a year, but this year was far worse. So I am proposing 3 steps, especially when it comes to our roads and sidewalks. The first is prevention. The main way to prevent potholes will come as welcome news to many Winnipeggers. Much better snow clearing and removal from roads and sidewalks of that snow. The root cause of potholes is water, especially meltwater from snowbanks. The more snow you have on the side of a road, the more water you're going to have melting and freezing and chewing up our roads. In Yorkton, Saskatchewan, which obviously has a similar climate to Winnipeg, hauling snow is much more cost-effective. We should also follow the lead of other Canadian cities and use the right equipment. Industrial snowblowers, not front-end loaders that end up tearing up our infrastructure and get the snow off our streets and sidewalks. This will make our streets safer for driving and sidewalks safer for walking, and also for people who are in wheelchairs. This will reduce the number of potholes we see in our streets in spring. Right now, the city is facing a big bill for snow clearing, frozen pipes, and for street repair. I've already talked about my policies for frozen pipes, but if we can do a better job of clearing snow in winter, we can reduce snow damage and reduce the cost of potholes the next spring and summer. Second, we need active patching of potholes when they are spotted. This year it took months for potholes to get filled, and they got worse and worse. I and my team will create a dedicated pothole rapid response team that will be dispatched to repair a pothole within 72 hours, accessible by phone 311 as well as app, Twitter, or even Facebook. The final element of my infrastructure proposal is a major investment in paving and fixing roads and investing in basic infrastructure so that we aren't always playing catch-up. One of the other candidates who is running for mayor has announced a commitment to deal with this issue. But in my idea, she has not gone far enough. As mayor, I would recreate a $250 million infrastructure fund dedicated to core needs, roads, bridges, and sewer and water. The question is always, how are we going to be able to pay for that? On August 11th, I announced a plan that I would levy a land value tax on downtown surface parking lots, and that tax would raise $26 million in revenue for the city. Now, $10 million will go towards snow clearing and pothole repair. $4 million would be an additional financial buffer for the city, as well as $12 million a year would be used to finance a $250 million 30-year bond at an interest rate of 2.7%. Excuse me, 2.57%. This is what's going to be the Manitoba Heavy Construction Association has called smart debt. That's because while we're borrowing at 2.57%, the Manitoba Heavy Construction Association has also said that investing in fixing roads and pipes gets a return on investment of 16%. In the private sector, that is called handsome profit. I am sure people will voice their concern about debt, but I will simply say three things. Interest rates are at historic lows. Everyone knows there is a lot of turmoil in the world right now. Both Canada and Winnipeg offer a safe, stable, and reliable place to invest your money. The question of whether we can handle debt boils down to whether we can make our payments. Can the City of Winnipeg afford to pay $12 million a year on a bond? Absolutely, through my policies. This is a fund that is realistic, affordable, and fully funded and financed by the land value tax. I realize that a $250 million fund is a substantial amount of money, but we need major investment. Right now, there's a question of the construction industry's current capacity to get the work done, even if we have the money in place. The spending needs to be rolled out at a deliberate pace, ensuring that we build the capacity of our construction industry to ensure long-term success. We don't want a situation where a contractor is telling us, sure, I can get that work done by October, but it will cost you twice as much. We don't need more cost overruns. We want to make sure we get the best value for our money. We want to make sure that it's properly planned through city planning, and we keep those nasty surprises and cost overruns at a minimum. We want to get it right the first time and every time. As I understand it, the problem is not a shortage of skilled personnel, but of the access to the right equipment. So some of this fund may be used to upgrade or acquire the equipment in order to increase the construction industry's capacity. I want to contrast my plan, what I'm offering up, compared to what some of my opponents are offering. I have said I will cancel the BRT extension, which will cost between $450 million to $600 million, and replace it with the Metro bus system based on other jurisdictions from Canada. I propose moving rail outside of the city, and which, while it has many costs, the federal government will fund 50% of those net costs of rail relocation. And this does not mean that the province cannot also contribute to helping. Moving rail and rail yards outside of Winnipeg means we would not have to replace the Arlington Bridge at a cost of $75 to $100 million. We would not have to build an underpass at Waverley and Taylor at a cost of $50 million or more. Then I propose converting existing rail lines in Winnipeg into light rail transit network on existing infrastructure instead of pouring billions of dollars into concrete. By contrast, one of my opponents has offered a 5-year freeze on all city-owned infrastructure and spending unless the other two levels of government are involved. He will try to raise money by having a fire sale on city properties. Another opponent has promised to borrow $64 million on infrastructure, but is not clear how that will be paid for, but has continued to promise with the promise to continue with the bus rapid transit despite its heavy expense. Another opponent has promised not to build just not the next leg of rapid transit, but a system for the whole city at the cost of billions of dollars, and says it will hopefully pay for itself. When it comes to infrastructure, someone has also said they will find $10 million or more in the city's budget in order to finance some of these costs. We need less wishful thinking. We need more planning, and more than anything, we need to make this funding happen. My plan is fully funded, an affordable plan that will make a major impact on fixing potholes, paving roads, and closing the gap on infrastructure and the infrastructure deficit. This is funding that may well leverage matching funds from the provincial government as well as the federal government. And I hope they will work with us. I hope they will also contribute. In past infrastructure agreements, if they are a measure of our past success, this fund could leverage $250 million from each level of government, and a further $500 million in infrastructure funding combined to the city's part. But I'm not going to count my chickens before they're hatched. Whether the province and the federal governments contribute is a matter for negotiation and discussion. But it's a lot easier to secure that commitment if other levels of government and you have demonstrated to them that you are also willing to chip in and work hard to find the necessary funds yourself. After years of talk about our infrastructure, after years of talking about our infrastructure deficit, as your mayor of the city of Winnipeg, I am willing to do what it takes to end the cycle of patches and fixes that don't go anywhere and start doing infrastructure right the first time. Merci beaucoup, Tapwe Akakitwam. Salamat. I will take your questions now.